Well, we meet again. What's up, everyone? Today I want to talk about my demigod that I got, as well as my demigod that I'm trying to get in Atlas Evasion. I got one in the Heist League. We'll talk about that later, but first I want to talk about the Atlas Invasion, which is a pretty fun event, and I think it could have been a lot more fun if GGG just lets us have a little bit more fun. Essentially, any map, any boss that's in the game can spawn in any zone. So even in Act 1, even in the mud flats, a shaper can pop up, and that's kind of how they build it to you. And it's super, super fun early game, when you're doing your gearing, mostly in hardcore. I don't see how it's fun in softcore. Mostly in hardcore, it's a lot of fun. But only early. Now that I'm in maps and I have been mapping, they're just kind of an annoyance because they don't drop considerably better gear. It is nice knowing that you can farm uniques in a certain way. You're going to get a lot of shit uniques, but essentially you can farm any sort of core drop pool unique you want just by killing them, which is pretty cool. And that's why I think in an SSF environment, it's a lot more fun. But for now, I like it. I wish that harder bosses, like if you end up seeing a shaper in Act 2 and you end up taking it down, it gives you better gear, but they didn't kind of scale it that way, which is whatever. Pretty fun event. And I'm playing a DD Ignite Necromancer, which I do not recommend you play. And I'm going to talk about that now. So here is my build here. Here's the passive tree. We don't need to look at that, but we'll just run some stuff here. So if you've never played DD, it's essentially you desecrate corpses on the ground and then you target them and blow them up. And the corpse and the explosion is based upon the corpse life. Now this is the Ignite variant. So I'm not, I don't know if you can see, but I'm not blowing all the corpses up in my desecrate pool. I'm just targeting one, blowing them up, and then allowing the Ignite proliferation to do its work and clear out the packs, which is really, really nice to kind of mess around with. But that's it. That's the core game style. It is a 2-button build, which is cringe, but it is strong. I'm taking down red map bosses in like 1 second, especially with Vol DD up. They kind of just drop. Now, what's interesting is that Vol DD doesn't really do anything because, it's not as powerful as it could be because we are mostly scaling Ignite damage, and you can only have one Ignite on the enemy. What Detonate DD or Vol DD does is it just makes sure that your Ignite on your enemy is the highest Ignite because it's just constantly cycling through all of the explosions, and the biggest explosion is the Ignite that's going to deal the most damage on the boss or whoever you're Vol DDing on, which is nice. But here is what makes the build so sort of easy, right? You don't need really any gear. I do recommend you get a 5-link. I wouldn't switch over from Armageddon brand cremation to DD until you at least have a 5-link. I'm lucky that I got a 6-link pretty early. And I have it with burning damage, cruelty, inspiration, combustion, ignite proliferation. I'm just getting enough chromes right now to swap inspiration out for deadly ailments. But this is the build here. I'm running Hrimners, I think that's how you say it, with my Spectres and Stone Golem and Meat Shield and Arctic Armor, Defiance Banner, Determination, Enduring Cry, Molten Shell, flammability on my trigger wand, which you definitely want. You do not want to be what is it called, self-casting Bone Offering, because what's going to happen is you're going to forget. You're just going to forget. As much as I didn't want to, I had to end up farming Triggercraft and SSF because I just always forgot to make sure my Bone Offering was up. This just ensures your Bone Offering is always up. And it's also going to spray out your Wave of Conviction whenever you need it. We're also running Tempest Shield, right? So our block right now is not that good. I think it's around like 40 something. Yeah, like 46. Once I grab this wheel here, it should be pretty nice. And once I get a Hunter chest, we'll have it capped, essentially capped spell block without the need of any wacky shields. If you want, you can run this shield here, which I think Zizarin does on his build, and it's not a bad idea. Sappho's Frame, and this is going to drastically improve your spell block, but you won't block any attacks. I actually do want to block attacks right now because my armor is not that high. I'm only at 12,000 armor. With a flask, we're at what, 16,000? I want to get this at least 25 to 30,000, and then I'll be happy. Not necessarily safe, but I'll be happy with it. So, yeah, right now I'm just scaling gear. I am using an Ungles because we are using Elemental Overload. So we do want that crit chance to get that. This is like the perfect amulet for Elemental. This should be called the Elemental Overload Amulet. It's essentially what it is for. Well, I guess like poison stuff too, maybe. Or the Assassin Poison Ascendancy. And then that's pretty much it. The rest of my gear is trash. This wand is trash. It just has trigger on it and burning damage. This is okay. If you get a Rimners, it's not bad, right? Because you're essentially going to be chill and freeze immune without any work. It is giving you a good amount of armor. It is giving you life. It is giving you res and increased fire damage. It's not a bad helmet to get. My shield is trash. I mean, the rest of my gear is like pretty much garbage tier. But it's gotten me to level 88 so far in hardcore solo self-found. I am starting to push the ladder a little bit. I'm taking it slow. I didn't really play the first 2 days. But we are taking it slow. We're climbing. I think we're rank 14 in our ascendancy right now. Once I get a little bit better gear, I'm going to start pushing a little bit harder and then hopefully climb that ladder if I don't switch over to my Pathfinder, which we'll talk about in a second. So, yeah, that's the build that I'm working on now. I don't recommend it because this is an XP race. The Necro, everyone wants to play this build, so the Necro Ascendancy is pretty contested. And it's just not... it's a bossing build, right? And this is not really a bossing event, so I just don't think it's the right move. And unfortunately, I learned that after the fact, right? The bosses that spawn in the maps or in your zones, I don't think they spawn in your corpse pool. I could be wrong. I know you can target the corpses and blow them up, but I don't think they actually spawn in your Desecrate. I don't know why, but they're not. If they are, it's very, very rare. So you're really relying on your Spectres anyway for most of your damage, which is fine. It's still mostly enough damage, but I think that's the reason why I think a lot of us wanted to play DD Ignite was to get that super big amount of fire damage from these big bosses. But I don't think that they're showing up in the Desecrate pool, which makes sense because it would definitely be kind of broken if they did. But yeah, so there's that. Now... let's talk about my Pathfinder, the Demigod that I got on hardcore solo self-found endless heist. So let's do this. So here is my character here. We got 5th place. Now that's not for lack of trying, or rather that's not for lack of, that's not because I didn't want to get only 5th place. Essentially what happened was I got sick of endless heist around day 7, and this was like a war of attrition. Everyone was just like, who can I beat out who, just by sheer willpower, because I know none of these motherfuckers wanted to keep going, right? So we ended up getting such high level, like 9, like look at these top 2 rangers here. I think this is the number 1 ranger, level 99. I had no patience for leveling that much, but I wanted to make sure I secured a demi, and I did. Very happy with my performance here and my build. Let's bring the build up here, I guess, because I can't show it to you in Path of Exile because it's a voided league and it's gone. But this was just a simple armor and evasion build for defenses. This is the best sort of ring I think you can get for this build because that onslaught on kill plus that physical leech is super duper nice, and I just kept with it, right? Everything else is just armor and evasion. I think at the end with flasks up, I think I had around like 40-something thousand evasion and like 35-something thousand armor, which is pretty nuts. And my flasks were always up, and it kind of gave me a new sort of appreciation for Pathfinder and how fun that build is and how strong it is, especially with this skill. I had Poisonous Concoction like with Void Manip, Greater Volley, Vicious Proj, Unbound Ailments, and Greater Multiple Projectiles. Plague Bearer with AoE. I never used Blood Rage because I never had the regen. Defiance Banner, Vol Molten Shell, Withering Step, Despair on self-cast, Flame Dash, Smoke. I actually used Smoke Mine a lot in this event. I found an Enlighten, which was fun. I actually found an Enlighten in the Invasion as well, so that's pretty cool. I haven't found any Enlightens in any of my other characters in the regular league, but both of these voided leagues, I found 2 Enlightens. And then I have that with Law of Grace, Determination, and Herald of Agony in a increased mana reservation helmet. So no, my gear is like pretty simple. I mean, this belt is kind of cool. Increased movement speed during any flask effect plus grace effect. Not bad. Plus increased flash charges gained. Not a bad fucking belt, along with the flat armor. So this is a pretty cool belt, but the rest of my gear is like actually trash. And I was in no worry of death. I'll just put it that way. I never felt like I was gonna die in this build. I was just cruising along and just racking up XP. And all it was just a matter of like, do I want to continue? Right? Do I want to continue just racking up XP, playing through this endless heist? And I essentially did until I got my Demi. Until I was like, okay, everyone below me, there's no way they're going to get the XP enough to grab a Demi. And I wanted to make sure that I kept looking and make sure they weren't catching up. And they just weren't even close. So yeah, so here's a little bit of footage, I guess, of the build in action. I don't know if you've seen Poisonous Concoction. You're basically scaling the overlap of the projectiles. So you're throwing these like bombs and you're scaling the amount of projectiles you're throwing and overlapping them. So you're throwing a lot of poison damage on top of the enemy and you're just stacking poisons and poisons and poisons and poisons. And yeah, it's really, really nice. I'm probably going to switch over or at least start building another one of these in Atlas Invasion because I think it's going to push XP a lot faster than DD Ignite. It's just going to be more fun to play. It's going to be easy to gear. And yeah, I think this is one of my favorite builds of the patch of 3.16, the Poisonous Concoction Pathfinder. I'm definitely thinking about Pathfinder a lot more than I ever have. Usually I'm just like, yeah, do I really care that much about flasks? Yes, I do. It gives me so much utility, so much speed, and it's nice never having to worry about your flasks. It's just super duper nice just because there's so much power in them. So yeah, that's it. That's how I got my Demigod in Hardcore Solo Self-Found Endless Heist. And that's how I'm hoping to get my Demigod in Atlas Invasion. As long as I don't die, which is I haven't been doing good on deaths in this patch. Just put it that way. Gauntlet I was so bad in this Gauntlet. It was actually disgusting. It was a shame. But yeah, okay. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you want to watch me play, I do play over on Twitch. I'll put the Twitch link down in the description at Drunken Driver. And I play all the time. So I'll catch you over there. If you have questions on PoE, questions on hardcore, anything like that, hop in and join. So cool. Peace.